Hey everyone, Melissa Metcalf-Leroy here, coming to you from my kitchen on a rainy Sunday morning here in Saluda, North Carolina. So since it's a little dreary outside, I decided to go ahead and prepare week 15 of the 2020 52-week Eating Healthy Challenge a little early today. I thought that would be a great use of my time since I'm not able to get outside, work in the garden, and work in the yard. So the first recipe that I have for you to start off week 15 is the breakfast recipe. So this is probably going to look familiar to you if you follow the blog and also follow these videos. So this is actually our breakfast biscuit recipe. So in continuing with the tradition these last couple of weeks in doing Melissa's version of the very popular Food Network TV show Chopped, I'm still going through the pantry, the refrigerator, freezer to see exactly what we have on hand. And before it goes bad and or to use what we have, I am looking at recipes that I have done in the past and or recently, or seeing what I can come up with as far as recipes go. So let's get started. All right, so you can start to see some of the ingredients here. So in the glass bowl, we actually have 2.5 cups of gluten-free flour. So this was something that I actually already had in the pantry. So I use Bob's Red Mill. This is a wonderful flour. It has a combination of different flours in here: brown rice, coconut, almond flour. To that, so this was 2.5 cups. To that, we added 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Also, Bob's Red Mill brand as well, that is in there. So what we're going to do now is we actually went ahead and scrambled about 1 pound of all natural gluten-free breakfast sausage that we have here. We're going to add this gently. You can see that I already went ahead and cooked this. Just put it on some paper towels to absorb any of the oil and or grease that was in there. I didn't use any oil in cooking this. I just started this out on a very low temperature on the stove. And when you do that, then you allow the natural oils in the sausage to cook the sausage without having to add any additional butter, oil, anything like that. So that's the way that I like to brown sausage particularly. And I'll do that same thing for hamburger meat as well. All right, making sure that we get everything in there. So here what you want to do is you want to mix this up to where you make sure that all of those sausage crumbles are completely covered and coated with that flour. We're also just kind of mixing together the flour and that baking powder. So that way we get a really good consistency here. Okay, great. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add in our cheese and milk next. So here we have just sharp cheddar cheese that was on the block that we shredded earlier. So we're going to add this. I'm going to give this just a quick stir before we add our milk. So I'm actually using, I had just a little bit left from previous week's recipes, unsweetened almond milk. So I had just the right amount. So this is 2/3 of a cup. So I'm going to add in here. And we're going to make sure that we get all of this mixed. So this is going to be quite a little workout here. All right. Almost not quite mixed. I'm going to add our eggs. So we actually scrambled, lightly scrambled. So these eggs are still a little soft because remember this has to go in the oven in just a few minutes. So I'm just going to mix this in. And depending upon how much sausage you had in there, I think this was, the package said 1 pound, but I think it's a little bit more. We may have to add just a little bit of water to this. As you can kind of see, still a little crumbly, it's not coming together. That's not a problem. This happens sometimes. So I'm going to step back here and just get just a little bit of water in this container. We're just going to lightly, That was about 1/4 cup. So if you guys at home are like, how much water did she put in there? That's about 1/4 cup. So now if you can start to see, it is coming together and it's sticking together, just like dough. So you want it to be a little sticky. All right, we're getting a nice forearm workout going on here. And so what I'm doing now is I'm getting to the bottom of this container because you can see that we have just a little bit of the flour mixture at the bottom that is not received any of that moisture either from the almond milk or the water here. So I'm just turning it up. I've gotten a little hole going on here, and so that's where the majority of that flour is. So I'm going to pour just a little bit more water down there. Get that all nice and moist with that water. Oh, nice. Okay. So now I'm just going to continue working this, folding it over, making sure that we have a great consistency. So if you see any of that dry flour, I'm just continuing to turn it over, press it together. Great. Okay, that's about the consistency we want. That's perfect. So you can see how kind of sticky it is and how everything's holding together here. Now, if you have a large ice cream scoop, that's what I recommend scooping this out with. So I have a tiny one here. You've probably seen this before in some of the videos and recipes that I've done. This is actually what I use for the protein balls. And I'm going to use this because this just reminds me of my grandmother. My grandmother used to make what she called angel biscuits, and they were little tiny biscuits. I loved those. I miss those. So that's what this reminds me of. So over here we have a cast iron skillet. I'm going to switch this out here. So what I did was I went ahead and melted a tablespoon of butter in the bottom of this cast iron skillet. So we're just going to slowly work around putting these tiny little angel biscuits on the bottom of the skillet. And we're just going to continue in circles, starting on the outside, and we'll just come in. So then we're going to put this in the oven at 425 degrees. So we've already preheated our oven to that. This is going to bake, depending upon, how big you make your biscuits for you and your family. This is going to bake about 12 to 15 minutes in the oven. However, before we put these in our oven, once we get all of these in the pan, we have some natural unsweetened, unsalted, butter, stick butter here. I'm just going to put about 2 tablespoons, so I'm going to cut it really thin and lay it on top of the biscuits. So when they're baking, this is just going to give those biscuits just a light butter flavor. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. This is truly one of my favorite and one of my family's favorite recipes, and I consistently do this one time and time again because it's very easy, and once again, everyone loves it. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you so much for watching.